Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to another episode of Legendary Encounters. In this series, I do battles that might or might not have happened, and I try to recreate ships as best I can based on how they were in history. This time around, it's going to be 2 Yamatos versus 1 H-44. Why 2 Yamatos? Well, we have already tried Montana versus H-44, and that went very poorly for the Montana. So, considering that the Montana and Yamato have fairly similar displacement, I'm going to give the AI of Japan 2 Yamatos to play around with. Hopefully, that'll be enough to offset the legendary amount of firepower of the H-44. Now, usually when the editor starts, it has a bit of trouble figuring out what goes where. I don't know why. It seems to be constantly struggling with that. I'm going to give the Yamatos a slight detractor here in the form of Krupp Armor 3 instead of 4. The reason being... Oh, shit. Shit. Never mind, that's not going to fit. The reason being, Japanese had poor armor quality relative to the Germans. And, well, relative to most of the other nations. So that means that this ship would probably not have Krupp 4. But if I go for Krupp 3, you're getting penalized in 2 ways, because 1, your armor strength falls from 100% bonus to 90%, but your armor weight goes up. And if you have as much armor weight as Yamato, that means you're suddenly 4,000 tons over budget or over displacement. So sadly, that's not quite going to work. Now, as the previous comments were not too happy about the Tower of Yamato, I have updated the model. It's now the Modern Tower 3, followed by the Modern Tower 3 Secondary. She still has her scattering of 2-inch guns as a secondary armament. Neither 2-inch nor 5-inch will really make a dent in the armor of the H-44, nor will the 6-inch guns. The H-44, yeah, this too needs to get somewhat balanced out. 0.3, there. The H-44, I'm going to give her light shells actually, not super heavy shells. With these light shells, she's going to have less chance to pen, but her reload is also significantly better at 64.9 seconds, as opposed to the super heavy shells of 76. The reason being, the Germans were a fan of their light shells. It seemed that they prefer firing faster, rather than having a lot more weight on their shells, and thus impact and pen. So because of that, I'm going to give them light shells. As for the rest, this ship is very heavily protected. It's 130,000 tons, 28.8 knot speed. Range on this ship is not important. And I kind of gave the ship a lot of gimmicks. And I'm still not at the maximum displacement. She has a solid torpedo belt. She has a very heavy barbette. Let's go for triple hull bottom. Because I think that is more apt to what she had. Or, well, was supposed to have. At least I believe that Bismarck, one of her far, in essence, older sister ships, had a triple hull bottom and potentially reinforced bulkheads as well. Here, I think this is fairly balanced. Now, keep in mind that this ship is going up against 2 Yamatos, which have 18-inch guns. But those Yamatos are going to get hit, most likely, by 20-inch guns. Yamato has never been hit by a 20-inch gun, but that is about to change. Alright, here we go. The starting range is 20,000 meters or 20 kilometers. I'm going to hand over control of both of my battleships, the Nishin and Yamato, to the AI. And we're going to see how it goes. And immediately, H-44 fires the first salvo from her stern battery. Immediately. That was within a couple of seconds of the battle starting. And those shells are incoming on Yamato. But fortunately fall short by about 300 to 400 meters. Yamato's and Nishin's gun, and I know this is supposed to be Musashi, but I can only rename one ship. They are trained on the target, and they have an accuracy of 14 and relative 16-15%. This should go quite well, especially when you look at the volume of fire that they output. But the H-44 with a 20-inch shell already finds the Yamato. Pens her deck, and she's about to do it again. Another deck pen. One of the 18-inchers has hit the H-44, but doing barely any damage as they were hitting the main belt. I think the chance to pen the Yamato is very good. There we go. It's going to be very difficult for them to do actual belt damage armor. Oh, sorry, belt armor damage, so citadel damage. Unless they attack from the top side through the deck, which on Yamato is not very good. It has a little bit of deck armor. Well, actually, no, sorry, it has quite a lot of deck armor. 8.9 main, 6.9 aft, 6.9 fore. And, oh, here we go. They've already inflicted some flooding against the H-44. H-44 is not angled at all, and is just focused on bringing all of those 20-inch guns to bear, which I think is the right choice here. Because this means that they can start to eliminate one of the Yamatos and reduce the amount of firepower on the enemy team by 50%. Although for some reason they just switched. They switched from the Yamato to the Nishin. Why would you do that? Full salvo from H-44, and it hits. Pens the Nishin through the main deck, causing 131 damage, and putting the area there on fire. 3 sections are now on fire. I think the strategy here for the H-44 is bad. Don't switch targets. Focus on one target until it is dead. Otherwise, you're going to have 2 targets which can still both shoot back at you. As they are currently doing. Inflicting damage to the funnel of the ship and going right through the main deck and the fore belt. At this point, these ships are probably lethal in their accuracy. 49% and 40% for Yamato, which is suffering from some damage instability, but nothing too serious. The damage done by my fleet's 507, damage taken 579. It's very even for now. 579, 579, we're even. H-44 has less accuracy for now. We got 56% for the Nishin's 18-inch guns. H-44 has 37. I'm not sure why they are not as accurate. Is it damage instability? Yeah, we got some damage instability, and target fast speed is a detractor for 28.6. Nishin versus this ship. Not target fast speed. Well, target fast speed is actually a worse modifier, but the target size is helpful. Plus 851% bonus versus 435% bonus. And keep in mind that the Yamato and, in this case, her sister ship Nishin were the biggest battleships ever built. And they are considered fairly small when you compare them to the H-44. H-44 there taking a few more damaging hits. One hit has managed to inflict some damage to the second turret on the stern. If I'm not mistaken, that's the Delta turret. Because the Germans go by, what was it? Anton, Bruno, something, and, well, whatever, the D turret. It's still pretty heavily angled, though. Can they pen this? Not very well. Versus the 20-inch guns that can definitely damage and pen Nishin, knocking out her main tower, thereby causing probably substantial loss of life, and also a reduction in accuracy. Now it's Yamato who has more accuracy at 58%, versus 41% on Nishin. Reload on these ships is 51 seconds, which is still slower, no, sorry, faster than the 20-inch guns, but then again, the 20-inch gun, at best, puts out 20,095 damage, sorry, 2,095 damage, 20,000 would be a bit much, versus the, in quotation marks, mere damage of the 1,444 from these 18-inchers. I don't think that the H-44 is going to win this fight, unless the Yamato or Nishin take a disastrous hit, causing a turret to explode, for example, or magazine detonations or stuff like that. That is most likely going to kill the ship. Because, oh, that was a good one. Aft belt pen, leading to rudder damage, flooding, and of course her conning tower was already damaged. The fires I'm not too worried about. Yes, the ship's on fire, but it's not that bad with maximum bulkheads. Now, H-44 has taken a beating. She's already taken 1200 damage, but that means that she's still at 65% structural integrity. This thing is remarkably survivable, which is interesting considering that she doesn't have that much armor. I mean, yes, 11.6 inch main belt is a lot, but it's not as much as the Yamato class where there's 16 inch main belt. Range, 11.4. Another couple of bad hits on Nishin, causing more flooding on her bow. Still though, none of her turrets have been hit or damaged. At least they haven't been damaged, let's go with that. Also seeing some 5 and 6 inch shell fire come in, but other than setting a fire or knocking a sailor out, it's not really going to do that much. I don't even think they register. No. Damage slash hits slash pens, 18 inch. That's about all she took, and the rest is fire damage. The 5s and the 6 just don't do anything at this range. That probably goes both ways. Yeah, Nishin has been hit, but the 6 inch from the H-44 just does not register. Oh, that does register. That's a bunch of floodings on the stern of the Nishin. And more importantly, more and more if this ship is starting to burn. No, they got it under control. Both the fires and the floodings are controlled. But I suppose that Nishin... Yeah, Nishin now has an almost 30% damage instability debuff, causing her to only have 31% accuracy versus the 64 of her sister ship. H-44 is no longer taking as much damage. At least she's knocking down Nishin far faster than she's getting knocked down. I think she's too heavily angled. Guns, these 18-inch guns are struggling to deal damage against the H-44 at this angle. Whereas the H-44 has very little issue dealing a lot of damage to the Nishin. Damage instability on the H-44 is not that bad. It's only about 5%, not even that. I think we're going to lose the Nishin before too long. A few more salvos and this thing is likely to just lose structural integrity and get destroyed. If these guys were firing high explosive, they would have vastly different results. Not that they would burn the ship down with fire damage, I don't believe that they can do that. It's not like you can overwhelm it with fire damage, but you just chip away at the structural integrity, knock out their main tower, cause the fires to then start taking more effect on the ship, doing more damage. But as it stands right now, they're pretty much mucking up. They're not doing any damage. Ooh, that was 20 inch ricocheting off of the Nishin. Speed on the H-44 is still a respectable 24.7 versus Nishin, which is 19 knots. Yamato is overtaking her sister ship. This is not necessarily good news, because as Yamato sails in front of the Nishin, it is becoming one huge target. And it doesn't really matter what you shoot at, you're likely to at least hit something. Yep, Yamato took a bit of a crippling hit there. Now, how about we lash these things together and make a Yamato catamaran? How about that? That could be an interesting design, couldn't it? I actually tried doing that in naval art at some point, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. Otherwise, I would have definitely made a video out of that. H-44 is still 60% structural. This is going to be a disaster, guys. Oh, no. Yamato took way more structural integrity damage there than she should have. Simply by trying to bypass the Nishin. Hopefully on the 1.05 patch, that's going to get fixed. But when that patch is going to arrive, I don't quite know yet. It was supposed to arrive earlier this week. It was supposed to arrive last week. But I'm trying to cut these guys as much slack as possible, considering that they are in Ukraine. And the situation there is a little fluid at the moment. So it means that the devs probably have something else on their mind rather than developing a game. Although they're not on the front line, at least as far as I know. Now finally some decent damage against H-44 right through the mid-belt, causing some floodings and more importantly knocking out her engines. It's going to be probably the last hurrah for Nishin though, which is down to 10%, sorry no, 13% structural integrity, but less than 10% accuracy. She's grown so unstable, so unsteady that she's no longer serving as an accurate platform for those 18-inch guns. Yamato is, but she too only has 40% chance to hit. Where did that 60% chance to hit go? Looks like the H-44 is starting to hurt. Structural 51, buoyancy is okay. If only the Yamatos could knock out a gun. That would really help. Now what is the H-44 shooting at? Because the secondaries are going for Yamato. The main guns are also going for Yamato and inflicting serious damage against her. At this rate, the H-44 might actually win. So far, this guy is doing very well. It has beaten Montana, I think, 3 times. Twice in fairly quick battles. Once when I was in manual control of the Montana. And it looks like I might have to take manual control of the Yamatos as well for next round. Because this thing is fairly unstoppable. Yamato's 56% structural. Still plenty of ammo, but so does the H-44. Another hit. Main belt, partial pen. Could have been worse for Yamato. Chance to pen is still very good. Chance to pen in reverse, 20 something? Yeah, 20%. And dropping at that. Conning tower damaged. There goes your accuracy. Oh, poor Yamato. You were doing so well. And the H-44 just fires a couple of those 20-inch salvos and demolishes most of the ship. Nishin has fallen behind by a large margin. She's not quite dead in the water. She can still do about 8 knots, which is fairly impressive with 3 damaged engines. And she's still trying to deal damage against the H-44, but her accuracy is falling more and more as the H-44 limps out of range. Now, Yamato took another big hit when I wasn't paying attention, or a couple of big hits, and is down to less than 50% structural integrity. H-44 has lost all her engines. But with that level of momentum, she's not going to stop anytime soon. Unless she would turn, but I don't see any reason for her to commence a turn. She's still ridiculously accurate at 56%. This is one of the big perks of having a huge ship. Because if you're such a large platform and you have a lot of hit points to waste, as it were, your damage instability is going to drop far slower than it will if you were a far more fragile platform like a cruiser taking a bunch of hits. Oh! Flooding. Destroyed main tower again. Yamato. 1, 2, 3, 4-ish floodings. At least the fires are contained. But a few more salvos like that and Yamato is down. Yamato is also losing speed, which is causing the H-44 to get even more accurate. Ah, finally, some revenge damage. 65 damage only. And that was with 2 hits. Here comes another salvo, and it ricochets off the side of a Yamato, but not all of it. Causing more fires to the bows and more structural integrity loss. There you go. Damage to the main tower. It's only damage, it's not destroyed. It can still very accurately help the main guns find their target. More flooding. Oh! 22% left on Yamato. Still better than Nishin at her 13%, but not by much. 77% accuracy on H-44. Chance to pan, 25%. This is gonna hurt. A lot. Yep. Ow. Down to 19%. Pretty much all the bow sections on the ship have been destroyed. Interestingly, the modules are still fine, except for the conning tower. And with that, damage control and accuracy. Her 6-inch ran out of ammo. Might even be a saving grace, because then it cannot get detonated. Oof. To her credit, Yamato maintains the pressure and continuously fires at H-44. Now, H-44 is down to 38% structural, but I don't think that between Yamato and Nishin that they have enough survivability to deal enough damage. This is not helpful. 11 damage. Not against a platform that's that big. More damage to the main tower. That either didn't hit or just bounced. The ship has blocked a lot of damage. A lot of ricochets as well. But I think that that's mostly from the secondary guns. The 5, the 6. The 2s aren't even in range yet. But even if they were, it wouldn't help. I think H-44 needs 5 more salvos or so to get rid of Yamato. %. Yikes. Are you angled? Yeah. Anton and Bruno are out of the fight. 6% left. 3%. Another secondary gun got destroyed. That's the 6-inch on the stern. She's reloading, potentially for the last hit on Yamato. 2%. This poor ship. Yeah, she killed Yamato. And with that, she's out of line of sight. Meaning that Nishin cannot shoot her. But I'm fearful that she will be able... Yeah, there it is. She will be able to shoot the Nishin. Yeah, this fight's effectively over. I'm going to take control now. We're going to restart the battle. But this time, it's going to be me in control. At this range, both ships will fire high explosive. We're going to both go bow in. Turn to port. Detach. Let's see what we can do with a bit of high explosive. And we're going to go to cruise speed, which is full speed, to make sure we get a bit more accuracy. I know that going broadside is more useful, but if I can get the armor from the bow to work with the 6-inch gun, or the 6 bow guns, that's fine for me. Because I need to blend my survivability with my ability to do damage. And I believe that this is, right now, the best way to do it. Okay, who's the flagship? Are you the flagship? Yeah, Yamashiro is the flagship. Which is important, because the flagship gains, or provides, an accuracy bonus. Look at that, she's already starting to burn. Oh, right through the nose. Good thing she didn't blow off a turret on the Yamashiro, but still. There you go. Damage to the funnel and more fire. The AI really needs to figure out when to load armor piercing and when to load high explosive. Because seeing as they don't know, it's hurting their ability to effectively fight another ship. If the AI had loaded high explosive, they could have easily won this fight. Because, as you can tell, I'm not getting nearly as many ricochets. And yes, the H-44 is still damaging the Yamashiro. But it's not nearly as bad. Destroy the secondary gun. Like what? Probably a 4-incher. Yeah, on the other side of the ship, no less. If you load the high explosive, this thing burns and dies. It's really pretty easy. All I did, go bow in, load high explosive, done. Well, we're not done. But I think we can be done pretty fast. I'm trying to get this ID complete so I can figure out whether it's useful to fire AP at this range, but I don't think it is yet. Boom! Destroy another secondary gun. Some return fire, but so far I've done 1100 damage and they've done 281. There we go. Chance to pen? 20%. Worse for Yamato. We're going to keep high explosive going. Chance to pen? 40% and 40%. Look at that. 2 engines are out of commission. It's just the sheer high explosive. I'm not getting nearly as many blocked. Yeah, of course, now the secondaries are firing. The 6 and the 5. No, not the 5s. The 6-inch guns are firing. But this ship really just needed a high explosive treatment. There you go. Destroyed funnel. 1800 damage done. I think she's starting to suffer from damage instability. Oh yeah, look at that. This is the H-44 against Yamashiro. Minus 40% from damage instability. That means that those 20-inch guns suddenly are looking a whole lot less scary. Minus 41.8%. Now, to their credit, they are trying to fix the ship back up, leading to less damage instability. But I push it right back up to 45%. 3 engines are out. She's already trying to flee, putting 2 turrets out of commission. Well, not out of commission, but at least out of this fight. What I'm really trying to do is knock out her main tower. Because with the main tower out, it's going to be far easier. There you go, damage to main tower. I just need to hit it a few more times. With the main tower out, you're suffering from a serious damage, or a serious damage control debuff. And that means that fires can deal even more damage to the ship. Because right now, 2600 damage, but only 150 of that is fire. It's really not that important. 2800 damage. This thing is really performing quite poorly. I'm also able to once again get the damage spread out between Yamashiro and Yamato. And because of that, the ships still maintain their effectiveness. They don't suffer from damage instability. They don't suffer from losing a turret. They don't suffer from having to leave. And this guy... oh dear. This apparently is how you take down the H-44. Although you need a solid amount of ships to do it. Because I think a 1v1 probably wouldn't have gone as well. Because it's just... you not only lose 50% of your damage output, but you're also focusing all the damage from the H-44 on one target. On, for example, Yamato, which would have been far more destructive. And potentially wouldn't have scared away the H-44. 35% left. Yamato has taken a few hits, yes. Damage instability is 5% and falling. Damage instability for the H-44 is minus 50%. That's pretty terrible. Structural 32. I still can't pen it with a standard AP shell. 10% chance. Because the ricochet chance, or ricochet angle is too high. 9.5%. So yeah, we're gonna HE spam you to death. Just with really big guns. Sad, really, that this is what you have to do. I suppose that, well, a ship's not having high explosive, they would just be fucked by the H-44. But in this case, not that big of a problem. 27% structural. Still no... Yeah, we destroyed another secondary gun. Still no final damage to the main tower. Look at this ship, though. That's 6 inches out. That one's out. That one's out. This 4-incher is out. Over here, I think the 6-inch guns are functional. One of the 4-inch guns, however, is not. And the accuracy is a mere 22%. Versus my 91 and 78. It's because Yamato has suffered a... No, she hasn't even suffered that much more damage. The damage and stability from both Yamashiro and Yamato has been reduced to nothing. It's just gone. And from H-44 it's probably still 50%, which is, I think, what it caps out at. More damage to the main tower, but still no destruction of it. This is how you kill a monster. A lot of high explosive. To her credit, that main tower, it's not that heavily armored. 3 inches of superstructure armor, yes, is a lot, but not so much that armor pierce. Sorry, that high explosive can't eventually destroy it. So that's interesting. More damage, more damage, more damage. 14% structural remains. I've done 6k and I've taken a 5th. I think the AI's mistake was sailing these ships in a line and just showing the broadside of the ship. Yes, it allowed the stern turret to fire, but the price that they paid was more than they gained by getting that stern turret to fire. It just meant that the ships took too much damage. And when, I think it was not Yamashiro, it was Nishin, it started taking too much damage, becoming ineffective as a platform. And just got rolled. Because then effectively, it was only Yamato that was still fighting. And she too got knocked out. More damage to the main tower, more. 7% structural. She's lost 34% of her crew. Don't mess with the Yamato sisters. Now, if you have a good idea for a battle, by all means, let me know down below in the comments. What would you like to see? I look forward to seeing your suggestions down below. I go through the comments and I see which ones get the most upvotes. So if you see something that you like, by all means, upvote it. And that way you increase its chances of getting turned into a video. There are some battles, however, that I've found pretty hard to try and replicate. The Battle of the River Plate, for example, with the Graaf Spee. I couldn't get a good hull for the Graaf Spee. Well, the hull's okay, I think, but the towers are terrible. And that means that it was impossible to do an accurate Graaf Spee build, at least for the moment. I couldn't figure it out. Alright. 1-1. Yamato and her sister ship won. H-44 also won. So it is... I'm not going to say it's undecided, but it really matters whether the AI would be using high explosive against the H-44. It is such a massive difference. Let me know what your thoughts are on the battle down below in the comments. For now, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this legendary encounter, and I shall see you guys soon for the next one.